Hello, everyone, and welcome to the South Windsor Chamber of Commerce BizTalk episode, today with Cesar Lopez. This episode is sponsored by Crystal Financial Insurance and Education Services in South Windsor, Connecticut. Today, your hosts are myself, Vasanth Kainkaryam, and Amy Pinard, and we welcome our special guest, Cesar Lopez. Cesar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome, great. So Cesar, tell our audience a little bit about what you do, your career journey, and what key events may have shaped that journey.
Sure. I'm a director of data management in an insurance company. And although I started in IT, information technology, in my first years, I quickly came to the realization that data was going to be a catalyst in many industries. The companies that would have a good handle of their data and how to extract information out of it, I realized that it was going to be, those companies were going to be the ones that were going to be leading in the new industries. So my career has been shaped by the three main functions around data, which is data governance, having to do with the quality, the security, the acquisition, the literacy of and ownership of that data. Also, the second function is the delivery of that information, which has to do with the visualization of the data, the distribution, showing companies and organizations how to use tools to make use of that data. And the third big component of data being the analysis, showing finally the intelligence that can be gotten out of that data, the hypothesis that can be drawn out of the information, as well as any predictive power that data may have. So in my career, these three functions have been shaping how I provide consultation to the company that I work for in order to have a good sense and good practices for data.
So you work a lot with data, right? And I think one of the questions is, what advice do you have for smaller businesses or newer entrepreneurs as to what pieces of data they should be collecting and analyzing so that if they were to present to another company or a client, what's your advice on that? What should they be looking at?
Yeah, so smaller companies usually don't have data of their own. So my recommendation is to look for other companies that are collecting this data. There can be a little of a financial investment to do that. Corporations such as Merkle Inc., M-E-R-K-L-E, they provide business-to-business information, but they also have business-to-consumer information. In that information, companies, small companies or entrepreneurs can find ways to see what bigger companies do not see. For example, in the insurance industry, many companies have a lot of pain trying to get third-party data, information about dwellings, for example, or homes, in order for those companies to do a reinspection on the home in order to adjust the premium. To get the third-party data pertaining to that, it's sometimes painful because we have to go through many different vendors and providers, and a company that can take that pain away from us will be looked at with a high priority if they are able to crack the secret of how to collect that information, how to deal with those agencies that collect the data, and how to provide it to us ready to be analyzed. So that we don't have to go through the problem of collecting that information. That's key. We have companies that have small companies that have come to us saying that they have gone to public records and put all this data together, and they have uploaded to the cloud, ready for us to ingest the data. Other companies are saying, hey, we have collected this information from these other agencies and we have stripped out the personal identifiable information in there, so you don't have to do it, ready to use the data. So there are quite a few ways to go to big companies and pitch an idea, which is mainly how to be that middleman, how to be that middle service that takes the pain away from us working with multiple agencies of data collection or multiple agencies or multiple service providers, centralization in a way. And sometimes we think that only big companies can do that to us, like for example, ISO, which is Information Services Office, Analytical Services, or McKinsey, or other big groups. But in reality, today, collecting data doesn't take that much, thanks to the cloud. It can be put out there and at cheap prices. And also because of the cloud, there are tools that allows corporations and small companies to work with the data. So any excuses in the past pertaining to price, speed, as obstacles, it doesn't exist anymore.
And how do you find the difference between, obviously there's this concept of data and then there's information, to our viewers and listeners, what would you describe the difference between data and information?
So data is the raw data that gets collected. Many times is denormalized. In other words, that it's very raw. It has codes, it has values that sometimes make sense only to the agency that is collecting it or to the organization that is collecting it. Once that data gets ingested and it gets curated and denormalized, that's when it becomes intelligence. At that moment, that data becomes information and it's ready to be used.
And I think a key piece that you just mentioned a little while ago was pitching. And I think that's a very important takeaway, particularly with small businesses, as you might go to larger entities and you want to pitch an idea. And you've had a lot of experience sort of on the other side where you've seen people pitch ideas to you. What advice do you have for smaller businesses that are trying to pitch ideas? What has made certain ones successful in the past? And what are some of the pitfalls that you've commonly seen?
So, we got small businesses coming to pitch an idea to us, and we realized that their pitch is geared towards the entire industry. For example, in the insurance industry, but sometimes we may not be the same as Travelers at the Hartford Insurance. We may not be the same as Geico. So we may have a different segment of the market, and what I suggest is for small vendors, small companies, is to actually hone in to what our issues are. If that means that talking to individuals in the company prior to doing the pitch as to what are the real problems that we're facing, I encourage that a lot. I for one, would like to talk to vendors before they come and do the pitch, because I can tell them what the real issues are and where many of our expenses are going. And in a few occasions I have done that, and they have, and those companies have been very successful at introducing their service or their product. And it doesn't take a lot. There's a lot of people in big corporations that want to work with small companies, so that their pitch it's customized to our real needs.
So you're almost saying, almost like doing a pre-pitch research before you actually pitch the idea.
Right.
And what are some things that you've seen when people have done it where it has not gone well? Is it more of that generalized approach for pitching an idea that you've seen?
Well, the generalized, yes, because we see a lot of them, and sometimes we feel like it's a waste of time when we hear the same idea over and over again without the customization. So disorganized presentations, working with facts from 10 years ago, also fail. Trying to divide us. So a small vendor that goes to the claim department trying to pitch an idea, and then they go to the underwriting department to try to pitch the same idea in a kind of like fishing. Those things we know right away. So we prefer an idea to be pitched is that encompasses all areas within our organization. And so we call it, they try to divide and conquer. which is, I mean, it's a good business practice, but for us or for big companies, we're looking more for that specialized, customized, hone-in kind of a pitch.
So say I'm a small business and I want to pitch an idea, and to do that pre-pitch research, how do you connect with key individuals in the business to be able to do that research? What advice do you have on that?
Yeah, so I've gotten calls from small companies. They said they saw my name in LinkedIn, they saw my title, and they thought that I would have some good feedback on an idea that they have. And that's how the relationship starts. I pick up the phone. If I have time, we set up a meeting and a teleconference, and then they tell me what their idea is, and then I try to relate it to what we are in need. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they find out that our need it's bigger than what they're thinking. But other times it fits nicely, or the company is nimble and flexible enough to reassess and apply a pitch that it's more customized to our needs. And when I am not part of that, if I'm not able to provide that feedback, I try to find a contact in our corporation that would be able to provide that information. Many companies come to me to provide services on cloud storage, for example. I am not in IT anymore. It's in the beginning of my career, so I try to send them to my IT counterparts so that they can have the right contact. Going back to the prior questions, pitches that have failed have been arrogant pitches, saying we have this data, we have this information that you can use, and nobody else has done it. We have put a lot of algorithm in it, and it's hard to break, and go ahead and use it. And we don't work that well either, because we have big corporations. Sometimes we have hundreds of years working with information, and we know the different type of functionality and way that can be put into data or into a service. And when we see something that is highly pitched, we are very hesitant about that.
So what do you think are some key opportunities for small businesses today?
Right, so small businesses, one thing I was thinking it's investing in business to business or business to consumer information that it's provided by some data companies. I think it's a good investment because they tell you what are the trends, what are the preferences of individuals or companies as they change throughout the years. And it can be very, very helpful for small businesses. Big companies, they have millions of dollars doing data research. For example, Home Depot, I'm pretty sure they spend millions of dollars on figuring out where to put the Home Depot store right here in Manchester. What did Lowe's do? They just put one across from it, right? Which means that they leverage whatever research was done by Home Depot, and Lowe's didn't do anything. They said, okay, we're just going to put a Lowe's store right in front of Home Depot because they already did the research. Same thing with small businesses. This data that is out there would allow you to see where to look to find the location for your business, and what are the services and trends that the consumers want. And what their financial behaviors are, what their entertainment behaviors are, their professional behaviors are. 10 years ago, that information was not available. Today, it's out there. Census data also. Right now, census, it happens every 10 years. Right now, it's happening, and this data is going to be available. My suggestion is an opportunity is to look at that information. What's the landscape of the population? We've seen that it has changed a lot, and our business plans now have to change based on what that landscape is. We have a very, very diverse background when it comes to populations in our towns and in many towns in the United States. any other opportunities for small businesses, towns have economic development plans. And towns do the same thing. They go to seminars or they go to conventions to find out what's the next big thing that should be coming into a town. It should be more restaurants. It should be more technology companies. It should be more retail. So try to leverage and find out what those plans are, because that can give you an idea of what business can flourish in the town in the future.
Okay, and then what 30-second advice do you have for small businesses in the greater Hartford area?
30-second advice. Yeah, that's a very good question. 30 seconds is it's hard to do anything in 30 seconds. But definitely have a virtual presence. Try to migrate all transactions to the internet. So this pandemic showed us that if we do not have a virtual presence, we cannot do anything, right? And so try to invest on having a virtual presence, having most of your non-production kind of functions in the internet, payroll, administrative tasks, how to communicate with communications with customers, reservations, and all that. Because then if another pandemic happens, or if the pandemic continues, then you don't have to worry about those things. All you have to worry is about your product and how to deliver it, because everything else can be productionalized and automated.
Awesome. Well, Cesar, this was fantastic. So thank you so much once again for joining our episode of BizTalk today. Once again, sponsored by Crystal Financial Insurance and Education Services right here in South Windsor. Thanks for coming on our show.
Thank you both for having me.
Hi, thank you.